Welcome back to Sunrise. We're continuing our conversation with Chuka Odom, former Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, also former Minister in the FCT.
Yeah, Mr. Odom, you talked about the issue of the economy, but do you see a plan to especially reach out to the informal sector in order to revamp the economy, as you say?
Well, look, I'm not a member of the cabinet, and I'm not in a position to know what plans they have for the economy. But I can offer my own perspectives on this issue. I'm not an economist, but I've listened to quite a whole number of experts on this field, and I do believe that there is a point where all of them seem to agree, which is very rare for economists. And that is that at this point, we need to stimulate the economy. And what that means is that there should be massive influx of resources into the sectors, into the infrastructure sector, into housing, health. I don't see that happening. For instance, we've just passed the budget, and up to now, we can't feel the impact of the budget on the economy. People are going through a whole lot of stress. So I think what needs to be done right now is for the government to give to Nigerians a clear-cut roadmap with timelines as to when these projects will come on stream, when they will be cash-backed. The signals coming from, say, Federal Minister of Finance is not edifying. For instance, the Minister of Finance said the other day that, well, the budget is just numbers, and that projects can be executed based on actuals that they found in their coffers. That does not inspire confidence in investors. It doesn't inspire confidence in local manufacturers. It doesn't inspire confidence in anybody. So what I think is that there must be a way of this government starting to be more specific about what they intend to do and how that will impact on the economy. Right now, I don't see that happening. But like I said, we don't need to discourage the president. We only need to point out to the party and the president the areas that are huge gaps so that they can close it up and move forward. So what I think right now is that this economy needs massive infusion of resources. There should be welfare packages to cushion the effects of the increase in fuel prices. And there are so many other things the party promised Nigerians in terms of welfare packages. None of them have been seen so far. So let us just assume that they are using 1 year to reposition themselves and to begin to address some of these issues. So now in the next coming weeks and months, if these things, these tangibles are not visible to Nigerians, I'm afraid they will be walking the same rope and they will be making the same mistakes.
A whole lot is happening concerning the economy, and you say it looks like a stronghold on it, and we need to stimulate it. And you also reminded us that you don't create jobs, you stimulate the economy for us to see that such openings, especially from the private sector and even individuals. What are those things that we're likely to see in the face of what is happening? We're talking about the drop in oil price, even though we've seen a little bit of improvement quite recently. And we're also talking about what has just happened, which you highlighted earlier on, the fuel price. But for the ordinary Nigerian out there, what are those things that you would love the government to do that will really get to him to bounce back and help really expand the economy?
Well, you see, government is not in the business of business. Government everywhere in the world are not known to do business. So, for instance, what I can say right away is that the government should forget getting involved in doing business. Like I overheard the other day the Minister of State for Aviation saying that they have not shelved the idea of floating an airline. That's crazy. I mean, you can't get involved in that kind of thing in this age and time. No government runs airlines in this age and time, except, well, in the Gulf states, and they still use professionals. Now, we can't put our scarce resources in such sectors at this point. We should allow the competition, the market. We should support local airlines, those that are serious, those that are not using their airline as a vehicle of fraud to access soft money and then buy properties overseas. Now, these are the things government can do, because once the airlines become efficient, look at Turkish Airlines. They have one of the largest destinations in the world, and they're operating from Istanbul, a country that is going through serious militancy and crisis, yet it hasn't stopped people from flying the airline. So that's one example. We can help boost aviation, not by getting directly involved. Government can spend so much money now on infrastructure development, railways, roads, waterways. These have their own spin-off effect on the economy. The economy thrives when you take people off the labor market, when you take people off on the unemployment market. And government can't do this without investing heavily in spending. This is the time to spend and spend and spend. Obama did it in 2008 when he pumped so much money into the American economy in spite of the recession, in spite of the fall of most of the major financial institutions. And what happened? A few years down the road, they recovered all the money. Detroit, the Motor City came back. So this is, Buhari can pick up a page from this playbook and replicate it in Africa's largest economy and get us working again, get people off the unemployment level market. And then this will also have its own spin-off effect on security, because the time you get young people off the street, the militants will not have anybody to recruit. The people who have mischievous tendencies, you just don't sit back there and be threatening, you will do this, you will do. How are you going to do it with the mass of unemployed people on the street? They are going to be very readily available for brainwashing, to be used by all these terrorists to come and attack our facilities. So the first program the government must embrace headlong is to how to get our young people off the street. And they can't do it by running businesses. They can do it by creating this platform, releasing funds to startups, companies by young people. You can create a startup ministry where young people can go with very brilliant ideas and good ideas for businesses. You give them some seed capital to start. There could be a mix of a cocktail of opportunities you can create to assess those young people who have ideas and brains and create a domain advantage for young people who want to be useful to themselves. So these are some of the things the government can do to reach the poor people. I don't believe in this direct cash transfer. You give people money. You give people money, they spend it. You give them 5,000 every month. What do they do with that? So we can do a whole lot of things. And I believe that there are some people in this administration who are intelligent enough to put these things together and advise the president appropriately and then get the country back to work.
Well, speaking about the people, I mean, while your party, the PDP, before they lost at the helm of affairs, there were those who complained that the government was not listening to them, they don't understand their policies. And now we're focusing on the first year in office of the president. You've got a similar kind of complaint, people saying we don't understand government policies. Some of them have lost their jobs. They seem frustrated out there. What is it that happens? Does government actually listen to the people? Where do you think they always miss it before those complaints come from the people about government at the center?
I think one thing common with our political parties, and this is including the PDP, APC, and you name it, is that there's a lack of internal democracy in all the parties, without exceptions. And what happens is that when you handpick people, when people emerge in a process where not the best and the brightest get picked up, the result is what we see. So sometimes there's so much politics. In fact, politics is more on the plate than the real service to the people. So what happens is that somewhere along the line, good ideas, brilliant ideas get truncated because it came from certain quarters. Because some people don't like the idea that somebody like this person or this particular camp is bringing up this issue. And of course, sometimes everything is seen from the prism of self-interest. If the ideas do not benefit the promoters of the idea, it's shut down. And these are some of the things I have experienced, being a ringside player at some point in this whole thing. So my thinking is that the critical part of leadership is the capacity to process information, to process advice. Because at the end of the day, the buck stops at the president's table. He cannot hold anybody responsible. So there must be a solid team, a solid economic team that advises the president, that are informed, that do not have any interest whatsoever, personal, in the advice they provide to the president. And this is the only way countries that have made progress have worked. But most times, most of the information, most of the advice the president is giving is tinted with partisanship, is tinted with self-interest. And that works against the overall interest of Nigerians. So my thinking is that at this point in time, the government must open up to the people. Let us have a solid, informed argument and debate on government policies. Let people from the private sector participate. Let's have a round table at each point. Let us dissect these policies. Let the people who know about these things be allowed into the room around. Let them have a place at the table so that we can discuss. This country belongs to everybody. It doesn't matter. We have to have a country before we have a party. And so this is my own take on the matter. The government has to make a conscious effort to inform people that, look, we're open. We don't know it all. We want input. We want input from the opposition. We want input from the organized private sector. We want input from everybody, market women, everybody. And so that way, we can filter out the best approach given our peculiar circumstances. But that is not happening. And I want to see that happen because the success of this administration, beyond partisan victory, it's important for the continued corporate existence of Nigeria because we're at a very critical point in the history of this country.
All right, one more thing before you go. I mean, interestingly, you're also a lawyer. Are you surprised at the scale of the kinds of information that is going on out there about the fight against corruption and that members of your party associated or ascribed to many of those cases? Did you know those kind of things were going on at the time?
To be frank with you, I'm shocked. I didn't know there are things like this were going on. The scale is quite mind-boggling. But let me say something else. That is not to say that if the tables were turned, these kind of things did not happen in the other parties. They did. The point is that right now, what the administration is doing is that it's dealing with more or less the low-hanging fruits. Election just got concluded. People shared money. And a whole lot of sleaze is still oozing out from the recent past, and they're dealing with it. But I know if this thing is done deeper, a whole lot of nice-looking people now will start looking ugly. So I think it's not a matter of saying it's a PDP thing. Absolutely not. And I do believe that those who say it's targeted at the PDP right now have a point of view, But the thing is this. You cannot say until everybody is gathered together who is involved in this, you can't start somewhere. Yes, let us agree. Let's be the Christ now. Let us be crucified. But at the end of the day, let us also see the other two thieves by the side.
All right, Chief Chuka Odom, former Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, also a former minister in the FCT. Thank you for talking to us today.